Welcome back to Under Par Acres. The tee box we built on our driveway last year has been a great addition, and we've had a lot of big matches off of it. It has held up well and we use it all the time. However, it's only good for one person to hit off at a time, and we want to go back further and build a bigger and better tee box. And fortunately, we have the perfect location to do so. And to get started, we're going to have to get our sprayer out and some weed killer, and we're going to have to spray all the weeds and poison ivy and shrubs that are in the way. One of the best parts of this location is that it's under a couple of large pine trees, and therefore it stays shady throughout the majority of the day. And as we've learned this summer, it gets really hot hitting balls directly under the sun, and it's going to be very welcoming to have a shady place to practice from. Once we're done spraying, we're going to get the gator out and we're going to drive over to the area that I keep all of the excess materials from previous builds. And over here I've got an extra piece of hitting turf that was given to me by a friend, and that should be big enough for two people to hit off, and has some extra padding underneath it, so it should be better than hitting off of old putting green turf. This is the first project we've taken on since the addition of Birdie to the family, so we're going to get to see if the old bird dog is of better help than the kids or not. And as we drove up to get started putting the mat out to see how it looks, we came to determine that Birdie is not that much of help either. With the mat spread out, we were now for sure that this is where we want to build a tee box. So a week later, I came back out with my pole saw and I got to work removing all the limbs that we needed to take down to be able to make a full swing. Once all the limbs were down, it was starting to feel like a real tee box, so it was time to get the shovel out and start breaking ground. My original plan was to dig a trench and start off by building a retaining wall all the way around, but you'll see later that we changed course and went a different direction. And while I did all this work that turned out not to be necessary, it at least got us started so that we would be motivated to come back and finish the job. So with the outline of the tee box complete, we let a few weeks go by before we finally got serious and got a load of crushed gravel to get started building the finished product. Once I got the crushed gravel, it was time to make the drive back home, where I made a quick stop at the house to pick up the boys, and then it was back to the top of the driveway to get to work. At this point, I was still thinking that I was going to start by building a retaining wall, and so I started by screening some gravel so that I could make a paver base that I was going to smooth out and sit the stones on top of. But I quickly realized that this was going to be a much bigger undertaking than I originally thought, and there was no way we'd get it done over this weekend. So I changed course and decided we're going to get all of this gravel out now and we'll worry about the retaining wall later. I let the boys get started with moving the crushed gravel out of the truck, but I quickly realized that if I was going to rely on them, we might not finish this job until Christmas. So I grabbed a shovel and jumped in and started helping myself. And once I started helping work, the boys took full advantage of the new shady spot, and I don't think I saw any more action out of them since. Once I got about half of the crushed gravel out, I got the landscape rake out and started smoothing it out the best I could, and then I just went back and forth as I tried to get it as level and smooth as I possibly could. A few weeks had gone by since we first started getting to work, and Birdie has grown quite a bit already, but she's also proved to be just about as useful as the boys. Despite having a bed liner in my truck, I always put a tarp down when I get crushed gravel because it makes it so much easier to get the last bits of it out, and it lets the truck be perfectly clean when I'm finished. And as the boys and Birdie decided to go back in the house to enjoy some air condition, it was time for me to get as much work done as I could so we could have a tee box by the end of the weekend. I wasn't trying to get it perfectly level, as I know I'm going to come back in the next few weeks and build a retaining wall and raise this thing a little bit higher, but I did want to get it as smooth as I could so that it was nice for hitting golf balls off. Once I had the base close to where I thought it needed it to be, I put the mat back on so I could see what it looked like, made a couple daydream swings to see how it feels, and then it was time to get the plate compactor out so we could get this thing fully compact and ready to hit. The plate compactor weighs about 200 pounds, and I needed to get it about 60 yards up the driveway, and there was no way I was going to push it by myself, so I tried to see if I could build a ramp and get it up in the back of the gator all by myself. And somehow I was able to get it done, but I was also done for the day, and I decided I'd come back out the next day to get back to work. When it came to getting this thing down off the gator, I thought it would be simple and that I would just slide it down the board, but it didn't quite go according to plan. However, it was down and working well. I bought this plate compactor back when I built the putting green, and it was from Harbor Freight, so I was skeptical on how long it would last, but I have to say I've been blown away, and it has been a great addition and something we use a lot, and I've had no problems with it. And when it was time to put it back in the gator this time, I brought out the big guns to help save the old man's back. We then rolled out the turf for what was starting to look like the finished product for the weekend, made a few swings on it, and it was feeling good. The main problem we have as to why this will be temporary is that the back of the green is too low and the water is going to come flying down that hill and eventually wear out the base. So we'll build a retaining wall to raise it later, but for now I wanted to see what some scrap fringe would look like, And then I quickly realized that I'd forgotten one big step that would really help. I forgot we had that bucket of screened gravel, which was perfect to make a smooth base, but that meant we had to get the plate compactor back down and go through the process yet again. So we've rolled the turf back out, we put the fringe out to see if that's something we want to add to it, but from there, it was time to get out the golf clubs and start testing it out. And it was really nice to see that it does fit both of the kids easily. It felt really good for me to hit off, and this is something that we're going to use a whole lot of. It also accomplished my goal of making it a little bit tougher on Wilson, as he was starting to get a little too close to driving the green and putting too much pressure on me in our matches. And we'll try to come back out and build the retaining wall and make this tee box look really nice, so be sure to subscribe and follow along. But thanks as always for watching, and we will see you all soon.